Why is everybody
Once
complaining
about
about Caitlin Clark getting bullied?
Because Caitlin Clark is a savage and she's very good and she's getting hated on by the WNBA because they suck and nobody ever cared to watch them ever in the history of the entire goddamn league until Caitlin Clark got drafted and now everybody's hating on her. She's actually the first skilled WNBA player that's ever lived. Everybody can hate as much as they want, but I knew disabled kids in my neighborhood that could have beat the best WNBA team.
Is there anyone in the WNBA captivating fans more than Caitlin Clark right now? Since her explosive days at Iowa, she's arrived in the pros with the same fiery spirit and a flair for the dramatic. One minute she's nailing deep three-pointers that defy conventional range. The next, she's orchestrating plays that leave veteran defenders spinning in confusion. Fans can't look away, rivals can't figure her out, and social media ignites the moment she steps onto the court. But for every highlight reel, there's a counter-narrative. Coaches claim they've cracked the code, insisting that physical defense or double teams will force her into mistakes. So far, though, none of it has slowed Clark's momentum. Every bump, shove, and jeer only fuels her more. Critics wonder if her confidence is sustainable, while supporters believe she's ushering in a new era of women's hoops, one where rivalries, massive TV ratings, and daring plays go hand in hand. Let's dive into how this rookie is shaking the WNBA's foundation and why her story has become the hottest topic in basketball.
I need to call you the female version of Steph Curry, or do I need to call Steph Curry the male version of Caitlin Clark?
Caitlin Clark's reputation as a dynamic scorer and playmaker was forged well before she donned a WNBA jersey. At Iowa, she became known for her audacious style, launching effortless shots from near half court, threading needle-like passes through double teams, and carrying herself with a swagger that said, "Yes, I can, and I will." Spectators witnessed game after game where she lit up the scoreboard and defied defensive schemes designed to contain her. Opposing coaches, while frustrated, often admitted they'd never seen a college guard, male or female, shoot with such confidence from that distance. By the time the WNBA draft approached, the buzz around Clark was deafening. Analysts pointed to her incredible basketball IQ, describing how she'd read defenses 2 steps ahead. Sponsors scrambled to sign her to endorsement deals, sensing a potential generational talent, and fans debated whether her success in college would directly translate to the pro level, where defenders are larger, faster, and far more physical. Would she be able to adapt? Her first official WNBA appearance answered that question emphatically.
Somebody break down the release time, which is pretty much identical to mine.
Stephen A. Smith.
She came off the bench only to torch defenders who underestimated her speed. Within minutes, social media lit up with clips of her draining a deep three. The broadcast team praised her court vision when she delivered a no-look pass to an open shooter in the corner. Even the referees seemed momentarily caught off guard by her aggressiveness. The box score alone, modest points, a handful of assists, didn't fully capture her impact. It was the way she commanded the offense, often directing teammates into position while scanning the defense for weaknesses. Shortly after, commentators pegged her as the new face of the league, highlighting how her star power could boost women's basketball to unprecedented levels. They drew parallels to legends like Sue Bird or Diana Taurasi, but noted that Clark's style felt distinctly modern, quick, brash, and tech-savvy, instantly connecting with younger audiences. She wasn't just a star on the rise, she was a viral sensation in the making.
Kathy Engelbert, the WNBA, the team owners, the Players Association, in the split of an instance, all of it can change. In a split instance, all of it can change. If this injury does anything, it should be a wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league.
Critics remain skeptical, insisting that rookie walls are real and that Clark would inevitably slow down once veteran defenders started knocking her off her rhythm. But from that first game, it was apparent she relished such challenges. Where others might wilt under the intensity, she leaned in, smiling at physical defenders and calmly draining free throws after contact. Fans, both old and new, began circling every Fever game on their calendars, eager to see if anyone could truly contain this unleashed phenom. In basketball, rivalries often ignite from a single heated moment or clash of personalities. For Caitlin Clark, her first major rival came in the form of Angel Reese, a fellow rising star with her own legion of supporters. Their initial showdown drew a record 2.7 million viewers, proof that the women's game had arrived at a new level of mainstream attention. The two exchanged jabs during the match, and while there was mutual respect, the competitive fire was undeniable. Clark's ability to sink shots under pressure met Reese's dominating presence around the rim, and every possession felt like a test of wills. If Reese highlighted Clark's scoring prowess, Ryan Howard took aim at her composure. The 2022 Rookie of the Year decided she'd be the one to set the tone.
Why do you think people love Caitlin Clark besides her skills?
She can shoot threes from logo.
We never seen that before. That's my point.
From the opening tip, Howard shadowed Clark, bumping her on drives and tugging her jersey whenever referees weren't looking. It was an old-school method designed to rattle a rookie, test her physical tolerance, and see if she'd snap. Instead, Clark responded with poise and a sarcastic thumbs-up gesture that instantly went viral. Within hours, fans had turned the still frame of Clark's mockingly polite gesture into a meme, capturing how she remained unfazed by on-court bullying. The moment shifted the entire vibe of the game. Howard, emboldened by early success at disrupting Clark's rhythm, ramped up her aggression. Clark, no stranger to adversity, pivoted her approach. She worked more as a facilitator, driving into the lane just enough to draw defenders, then kicking the ball out to open teammates. On Twitter, people marveled at her passing skills, especially the left-handed bounce passes that split defenders at impossible angles. With each dime, she eroded Atlanta's early lead, showing that if you try to lock down her scoring, she'll dismantle you with assists. Social media lit up with clips labeled "Styles bought Clark thumbs up and not scared," especially after cameras caught her whispering, "I'm not scared of you," in Howard's direction. While the broadcast team argued whether Howard had crossed a line with her physicality, fans recognized they were witnessing something special. A rookie who not only endured pressure, but thrived under it, fueling the fervor that made every Clark appearance a must-watch. As tensions rose, so did the level of physicality across the league. Defenders soon realized that standard tactics weren't enough against Clark's uncanny speed and shooting range.
Caitlin, I saw you having a long conversation with the official. Walk me through your perspective on the flagrant foul. What was the point you were trying to make to her?
It's just a good take foul, you know. If either Angel gets wide open 2 points or, we send him to the free throw line. Nothing malicious about it. It's just a good take foul. Every basketball.
So they ratcheted up the contact, crowding her dribble, grabbing her waist, and nudging elbows at every screen. This wasn't entirely new to women's basketball. Physical play has long been part of the game, but with Clark, it felt like everything was under a microscope. The Dream's strategy epitomized this approach. They pinned their hopes on flustering Clark via relentless face guarding and borderline fouls. Jersey pulls, hip checks, and other methods that skirted the rulebook became commonplace. Fans cheered it on, hoping to see if Clark would lose her cool or at least hesitate before launching one of her trademark deep shots. But she didn't hesitate. If anything, she started baiting defenders, using quick crossovers to lure them into reaching, then blowing past or dishing off a clever assist. This rise in rough play sparked a widespread debate. Talk shows devoted entire segments to whether officiating needed to clamp down. Some commentators loved the new drama, insisting that rivalries and scuffles drew in bigger audiences. Others argued the league should protect its brightest new star from potential injury. Ryan Howard herself received both praise for old-school toughness and criticism for pushing the boundaries of fair play. The WNBA front office remained tight-lipped, conducting standard reviews of game footage but releasing minimal public statements. Clark's response only elevated her status. Cameras caught bruises on her arms, presumably from constant defensive contact. She'd shrug off questions, praising her teammates for stepping up, yet the more physical the games became, the more fans tuned in. Talk of a new golden era for the WNBA felt increasingly justified. Younger viewers devoured every highlight reel, eager to see how Clark would handle the next wave of aggressive defenders. One of the most compelling aspects of Caitlin Clark's rise has been her adaptability. While known primarily for her scoring, she's proven time and again that if defenders stifle her shot, she'll find another way to dominate. It's one thing to be a sharpshooter, plenty of players can put up points. It's another to orchestrate an entire offense so skillfully that opponents scramble on every possession. When Atlanta took away her driving lanes, Clark countered by spacing the floor and zipping passes around unsuspecting defenders. When Ryan Howard tried to smother her at half court, Clark slowed the tempo, sizing up the defense until a gap emerged. Suddenly, she'd accelerate, leaving her defender behind or drawing in a second defender before kicking the ball to an open shooter in the corner. These plays turned the Fever into a high-octane offense, especially once Sophie Cunningham and Lexi Hull found their stroke. Observers praised her basketball jiu-jitsu, referencing how she used an opponent's aggressiveness against them. If defenders lunged for a steal, she'd pivot away or change speeds to slip through an opening. If they backed off, wary of her blow-by speed, she'd pull up for a three from several feet behind the arc. This mental chess match became a spectacle in its own right. Rumors circulated that Clark sometimes battled minor ailments like a stomach bug, adding a near-mythic sheen to her performances. In post-game interviews, she stayed humble yet confident, giving credit to teammates and sidestepping questions about dirty play. "I love the challenge," she'd say with a grin, as if adversity was the spark that lit her fire. A pivotal outcome of Clark's Headley, knee-grabbing rivalry with Howard was the massive media spotlight that followed. Suddenly, outlets that rarely covered the WNBA devoted primetime segments to Clark highlights. Social media hashtags like #Clark Effect, #WNBA Star, and #Unstoppable Clark trended after each of her notable performances. ESPN even cut into other programming for live look-ins whenever the Fever were in a tight contest, riding the wave from her earlier clashes. Ratings data told the story. Every game featuring Clark saw a notable spike in viewership. League Pass subscriptions soared, and cable networks scrambled to air her matchups in better time slots. Ticket sales at away venues climbed as local fans hoped to witness her highlight plays firsthand. Sponsors sensed a marketing goldmine in a rookie who could effortlessly attract younger demographics. But with that meteoric rise came new pressures. Each foul, missed shot, or visible frustration became a talking point. Rumors about potential fines for excessive contact spread, spurred by slow-motion replays of jersey grabs. The league teased it was monitoring situations, but made no heavy-handed announcements. Podcasts debated whether Clark overshadowed veterans who'd built the league for years, while others insisted she was exactly what the WNBA needed, a dynamic figure to bring in new fans. For her part, Clark navigated the media attention with notable composure. She'd grown accustomed to buzz in college, and while the WNBA stage was bigger, she rarely dodged tough questions about officiating, rivalries, or rumored locker room tensions. Her mix of humility and quiet self-assurance left journalists convinced she could handle whatever came next. Though Clark commands much of the spotlight, the Fever's success also hinges on collective chemistry. Coach Stephanie White knew that if opponents threw double teams at Clark, the supporting cast had to deliver. Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull rose to the occasion, sinking open shots and cutting to the basket whenever Clark drew defenders their way. Practice sessions featured relentless drills aimed at replicating in-game chaos, hard traps, quick ball movement, and rapid-fire transition opportunities. Clark, often the loudest voice on the floor, directed traffic and set a competitive tone. Veterans acknowledged her leadership, noting that she balanced hunting her own shots with creating for everyone else. Behind the scenes, any envy over Clark's media attention took a back seat to winning. Merchandise sales climbed, the Fever's ticket revenue spiked, and new endorsement deals trickled in, boosting the franchise overall. Clark frequently shouted out pioneers like Sue Bird and Tamika Catchings, showing respect to those who paved the way. Coach White emphasized a shared responsibility approach to handle intense defenses, which rallied the squad around Clark rather than resenting her spotlight. As Clark's influence grew, opposing coaches dove deep into film, trying everything from hyper-physical man-to-man to tricky zone schemes. Established stars like Sabrina Ionescu and Aja Wilson prepared for marquee battles, excited yet wary of the rookie's rapidly evolving play. Every near stop on Clark became a highlight in its own right, with fans cheering any sign she might be mortal. Meanwhile, TV networks expanded coverage, placing Clark-centric games in primetime slots and promoting them heavily. Merchandise sales climbed league-wide, not just for the Fever, as new fans discovered other rising talents. High school programs reported surges in girls emulating Clark's fearless shooting and precision passing. Dubbed the Clark Effect, it illustrated how a single breakout star, backed by compelling rivalries, could catapult women's basketball into a larger cultural spotlight. Not everyone celebrated without reservation. Some critics argued the WNBA shouldn't rely too heavily on one personality for ratings. Others pointed out that fierce rivalries often elevate more than just one name. Indeed, Angel Reese, Ryan Howard, and Sabrina Ionescu also gained traction by clashing with Clark, creating a web of storylines that enthralled both longtime enthusiasts and newly converted fans. So, is Caitlin Clark truly unstoppable? Thus far, no rival has sustained a strategy to limit her for an entire game. The Dream tested her toughness. Angel Reese challenged her on a massive stage. Sabrina Ionescu prepared to match her ball-handling wizardry. Each time, Clark revealed new facets, whether raining shots from near half-court or threading passes into traffic. Defenders either crowd her, risking blow-bys, or sag off and watch her launch deep threes. If trash talk escalates, she seems to relish the exchange, harnessing it for extra motivation. With each passing week, the notion of finding a blueprint to stop her looks more like wishful thinking. Her adaptability is the difference. She morphs from scorer to facilitator or from pass first to rim attacker, all based on what the defense shows. Ultimately, Caitlin Clark's story transcends one athlete's meteoric rise. She symbolizes a broader shift in women's basketball, where new stars, heightened physicality, and dramatic rivalries command center stage. Every Fever matchup sparks intrigue. Will Clark drop 30 points or rack up a dozen assists? Will an opponent finally crack her code, if only for a quarter or two? Her knack for confronting adversity head-on has re-energized the WNBA, inviting fans to tune in for both spectacle and suspense. Some question whether she'll maintain this pace, others argue she's merely scratching the surface. Either way, the league hasn't felt this vibrant in years, and that's a win for everyone, from rising prospects to established veterans. So, is Caitlin Clark unstoppable? For now, it looks that way. She sets the tempo, transforms obstacles into catalysts, and keeps fans riveted. In time, perhaps she'll meet a worthy foil who forces her to evolve yet again. But as it stands, she's igniting a spark that's burning through old perceptions, shining a fresh spotlight on women's hoops. If this is the future, then everyone should buckle up, because the Caitlin Clark era is off to one electrifying start.